Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This week, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Dan. Now, this chat with Dan is technically in two parts, but I think I'm going to release this part as its own episode and then the second part as its own episode, as they are actually quite varied. This one is basically purely about movies, so it's just over an hour. We talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which Dan isn't that into, so we talk about that a little bit. We talk about Quentin Tarantino movies, we talk about Requiem for a Dream, Wolf of Wall Street, the Fast and Furious franchise, the Saw franchise, films over-explaining themselves, Pirates of the Caribbean, Blade Runner, Star Wars, and loads more. So for any movie lovers, check this one out. If you're not really into movies, this probably isn't going to be the podcast for you. Next week's one, me and Dan basically talk about music loads, and we talk about his work as a cameraman at Bestival a little bit as well. So if you're into music, stay tuned for that one next week. If you've tuned in, this isn't what you really fancy. Last week, my friend Josh was on, and we did another episode of Science But Simple, where we spoke about scientific misconceptions, and we spoke about black holes a little bit. And then the week before that was part 2 of my chat with my friend Frank Burton, who's of no relation to me, and we speak about the writing process because he recently released a book. So quite a few things going on in my podcast the last sort of 3 weeks or so, quite a bit of varieties, but yeah, this one will be just about movies. Before the chat gets started, there'll be a quick promo by the Fallacious Trump podcast, and then it'll be straight into the show. So after the show, it will then be my usual ramblings at the end, which is normally sort of what's coming up, some additional information sometimes, and sometimes just a ramble from me about other things. I think at the end of this podcast, I'll probably talk a little bit about Avengers Endgame, because I went and saw that on Thursday, the night it was out. I won't put any spoilers in, I won't say anything that ruins it, so if you listen to the end and you want to hear my thoughts on Endgame, but you haven't seen it yet, you don't need to worry, because I'm not going to ruin anything. But yeah, that's going to be it for now, so thanks as always for listening, guys, and I'll talk to all of you at the end.
Welcome to Fallacious Trump, the podcast where we use the insane ramblings of individual one to explain logical fallacies.
It's a slippery slope fallacy.
Where does it stop?
The conspiracy theory fallacy.
We better be careful because that election's going to be rigged.
No evidence whatsoever.
No.
Did he say that?
A logical fallacy is an error in reasoning that results in bad or invalid arguments.
A way of distracting when you're being accused of something.
To quackwave.
And some presidents didn't do anything.
Trump is right, to be fair, that some presidents didn't call because they were presidents before the phone was invented.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Jim.
And I'm your other host, Mark.
Mark's British politics. Corner.
Argumentum ad nauseum.
Well, the reason I've been saying Brexit means Brexit is precisely because it does.
The argument from popularity.
So SpongeBob kicks
Bill O'Reilly's butt, yeah.
every night
Yeah.
on the ratings. Right.
So, yeah, it's brilliant. It's true.
The power of logical fallacy thinking.
Oh, that would be awesome. If everyone debating did that. Then debates would be a lot more honest.
It was all made up, it was fabricated, and it's a disgrace.
Which is clearly nonsense. You can connect with us at fallacioustrump.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Genuine Chit-Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people, and I'm your host, Mike Burton.
I'm not very controversial, so it shouldn't be a problem.
I don't know, it depends. Some of your movie taste is controversial.
Yeah.
You're not liking Suicide Squad. You're definitely in the minority there.
Clearly. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you see Batman vs Superman?
I did not, and for good reason, because everyone who's talked about it has said how bad it is.
Yeah,
so.
it's fucking terrible. Right?
Yeah.
Like literally hours of my life I will never get back. Like,
But it's so strange. Like, you've got fans of that, what are they called? The fans of that, like, universe.
oh, DC.
And then they'll just be like, oh, they'll find any little thing. It's like, no, it's okay. Like, people can do bad things, like, sometimes, and but overall it's all fine, but like if it's bad, just say it's bad. There's no point trying to find like the little crumb of like, oh, well, then like an hour in, the sound was really good.
Well, what I say about Batman vs Superman, like you do not need to watch it. I want to clarify. Even to understand the DCU, it's pointless. But it's like Man of Steel. That was all right. The first hour was pretty good.
I liked it.
I thought it was good until he started fighting people. I thought like the darkness of him struggling to find himself was really good, and then he starts fighting, and it's like, oh, there's these two indestructible beings punching each other into buildings. Like, this is boring as fuck. They can't kill each other at all until one of them suddenly can kill the other one. Okay, so they're not indestructible then. No, they can snap each other's necks. It's like, Why wasn't that the first thing they were going for? Like, why would you even bother? Like, it's like me and you wearing like inflatable gloves, like inflatable boxing gloves, and saying we want to kill each other, but I've got a knife in my pocket, and we just whack at each other for like an hour, and I'm like, kind of done with this, mate. Pull out a knife and stab you. It's like, surely, why were they not just trying to snap each other's necks the whole time?
Because there will be people who won't see that coming, and then they'll be like, "Oh my god,
oh my god, Superman didn't die
You
in
did
the
it
first
again."
new Superman film.
Well done."
Have you seen any of the old Superman films?
No. The only real thing I know about is was it the mate you played him fell off a horse, didn't he? And,
Oh, he got like all fucked up. I only know that because of South Park.
yeah, that's the only bit of like. And then isn't supposed to be like quite camp as well, like
Yeah. I think I haven't seen them all, or any of them really. I've seen bits and pieces, but it's just they're all rated like fairly bad. And the problem is, it's just whoever invented that as a superhero is the worst person on the planet, because it's just like, hey, let's make a superhero, right? Whose only weakness is one thing. It's like, don't you foresee that in the future, when you're coming up with new stories for this character, that the only things he's weak to is kryptonite? Basically, his love interest, Lois Lane, everyone bloody knows. People haven't even met him. His terrible, terrible bloody superhero, like, disguise. I'm Clark Kent. I'm the exact same as Superman, but with glasses. So no one will know it's me.
Wow, has anyone ever told you you look like Superman? He's like, don't know what you're talking about. He's got my glasses on. Mate. It's all right.
Superman doesn't wear glasses, actually, so clearly I'm not him. It is ridiculous. But do you like any of the superhero movies? Because I know you're not really into the MCU, are you?
No, it was just because I watched like a few of them, and then I don't know, I must have just like blinked, and then everyone just had suddenly watched all of them, and I was like, oh, I'm a bit behind. I remember being in college, and it was just all everyone talked about, and I think it was kind of just out of spite. I was like, well, I'm not gonna bloody watch them, but everyone's just like, oh my god, it's amazing. I was like, is it? And they're just like, wah, wah, wah. And I was like, I just didn't watch a bunch of them. And then I think, after college, the ones that have come out since about 2016, I watched Amazing Spider-Man, I watched Black Panther, and I enjoyed them. And then I watched, what's it called? Infinity War.
Yeah.
And from watching about, I don't know, there's loads in there, but
I think it's about 20 in total.
I probably watched about like 6 or 7, just sort of like dotted around, and I enjoyed Infinity War, and it was really easy to follow from someone who has barely watched the films, except for I had no idea who the good guy, red guy with the thing in his head, what's his name?
Vision.
Yeah, I had no idea who he was.
Oh yeah, that's
probably exactly how I said it. I was like, who's that guy? And he's like, it's Vision. I'm like,
duh, how do you know who Vision is?
Yeah, I was like,
it's just Iron Man had this computer software called Jarvis, and then it got mixed with an Infinity Stone and a bit of Thor, and it became Vision, essentially.
What?
Yeah, I know.
What?
It's as stupid as it sounds. It's in Avengers Age of Ultron, which is the MCU movie that everyone's a bit like, that and Iron Man 2 are the ones that everyone's like,
Ant-Man?
not that amazing.
Ant-Man's so rubbish.
Oh, God. Why would you say that? You're going to embarrass yourself in front of me and everyone who's listening, It's so upsetting.
I was like, I mean, obviously, I didn't give it a fair watch. It just came on, and then it was just this random bit where he's like, oh, and I'm sure he like talked to some ants, and it's all like tiny, like flying. I was just like, what the hell is this?
Well, the whole thing, if you watch the whole film from the start, he is mocking it the whole time, like Paul Rudd, or his character. He's literally like when he gets told what the name of the suit is and what he's called, he's like, was it Michael Douglas, who's Pym in it? He goes, you are Ant-Man. And he looks at him and he goes, can we change the name? Because it's just the worst name ever. And he's like, what, you control ants with your mind? And Hank Pym's like, yeah. And it's like, what? Why? It's like, what point? Like, of all the things you could do, and it's just like he is kind of mocking it the whole time, but then it's kind of like, we need to do this one thing to stop this thing happening. So can you do it? And he's like, well, I guess. There's a bit more to it than that, but
yeah, that sounds like the same thing in
every single Marvel film.
No, well, that specifically, I watched Reservoir Dogs recently. That reminds me, and it's like,
I love it.
All right, and you're Mr. Pink. He's like, why am I Mr. Pink? It's that whole like bit.
I love Steve Buscemi in that film.
Yeah,
it absolutely cracks me up.
I remember watching it I got like halfway through it, and I was just like, and then I had to rewatch it later. There's a bunch of movies, like when I first got Sky when I was about 13, and watching all these movies, and there's a lot where I was like, I didn't like them, but then I've rewatched them recently, and I really liked, like Django, Reservoir Dogs.
I was going to ask you about Tarantino. I mean, Django's a weird one, because I know a few people who don't like it, but it's quite rare to meet people who are like. Well, it's rare to meet people who are in the middle. They either really don't like it or they fucking love it. And I'll tell you that's correct is to fucking love it because that film is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, I think I've heard people say they don't like it, and it's like, oh, DiCaprio's performance is so over the top, and it's all, and it's just all a bit like boring. I'm like, how? It's like really good. It's a really good movie. Like, and the whole like, if they're not used to like that sort of showmanship that a Tarantino movie can have, where it kind of, people are like, oh, that's not realistic. It's like, well, you've seen enough of them by now. Like, that's just how it's going to work. And it's definitely one of his better movies. I've seen most of them, I think, apart from Jackie Brown and Grindhouse. I think that's Tarantino, isn't it?
Well, Grindhouse is a double feature of Death Proof and Planet Terror. Planet Terror is made by Robert Rodriguez, who made the Once Upon a Time in Mexico trilogy, Spy Kids, Machete, that sort of thing, and Sin City. And
he did the vampire one, right? Dusk Till Dawn. Wasn't that him?
Yes, he was. And Tarantino's in that.
Yeah.
Because Tarantino, I think, wanted to make the movie, but he didn't have enough money at the time, so Rodriguez made it with Tarantino just in it.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, that's
off the wall and stupid, but it's amazing. Like,
just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And George Clooney's like...
He's a great in it. That's the first film I saw where he was really good. I was like, wait, George Clooney can actually act?
Yeah, and the tattoos, I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And then, because it's such a simple premise, I really like it. And it's, it seems like it was adapted from a short film.
Yeah,
it probably could have been.
Well, now they've made it into like a Netflix series, but I haven't watched it because I'm just like, the film was great. That's all you kind of need. I mean, I imagine the Netflix series is probably really good, but it's like, you didn't need much more to that. And the beauty of it is how ridiculous
you don't
it is.
need much more.
No, but there are 3 of them.
Wait, what?
There are 3 Dusk Till Dawn movies.
Oh my God.
Robert Patrick is in the second and third one, I think. I think Danny Trejo just pops up in each of them as well.
Oh,
I love Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
He's so ridiculous. But yeah, with Quentin Tarantino, I mean, Jackie Brown it's a good movie, like surprisingly good. I've watched it a couple of times. And it's got the best starting soundtrack ever because it's got 110th Street by Bobby Womack, and that's the start. And I just love that song. And I got into that song because of that film. So it's also got Samuel L. Jackson's got 2 or 3 lines in it that I just like. I'm watching it, and it's not really a funny film, but just moments of just hilarity just from what he says. So it is a really good movie. But so I think there's Reservoir Dogs that's obviously absolutely amazing. Then there's Jackie Brown, which is
Pulp Fiction as well.
Well, Pulp Fiction obviously is top. People can't hold it as the top one. I don't know which ones. If I just list them, so you've seen Reservoir Dogs.
Yep. And
what was your thoughts on that?
I don't know. It wasn't. I can appreciate it for sure, but it's not my go-to. Someone, like if you like, we're gonna watch a Tarantino movie. Which ones would we watch first? Like first being the best. I would not pick.
No.
It's just there's. I don't know. Like there are some like really iconic moments in it, like the starting meeting bit, and then, but I just one bit like the whole bit really threw me off was when he like cuts his ear off.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, but I mean,
it's been out since God knows in the 90s.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, I was just like, ugh. Yeah, but I mean, it's a good movie. It's not one of my favourites.
It's one of those ones where I'm a weird one when it comes to movies because I just generally like most things. So when I say amazing, it probably really translates to very good because it's like. There's kind of 2 minds of it. There's how much I enjoyed it and how much I appreciate it,
Yeah.
And appreciation of it, I mean, the soundtrack's amazing, the cinematography is amazing. What he managed to do on such a low budget in basically one room was genius. That's obviously why he became such a prolific director.
Yeah.
But it's like, the film, if you said, as you kind of point out, like, oh, do you want to watch Reservoir Dogs? Like, not really. Yeah. Like, I love that film. It's great, but it's not got enough of anything in it for me to really like rewatch value. And then Jackie Brown's pretty cool, but it's quite long, just like a lot of Tarantino films are, and there's not quite enough oomph to it. And then it's Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction's great, but like when I used to watch it when I was a bit younger, when I first got on DVD, and I'd rewatch films quite a lot more, I'd watch it and I would just skip almost all of the Bruce Willis stuff.
What?
Well, that's the funny. Apart from until he gets captured in the actual in the celery bit, when he starts getting like raped and things, or Marcellus gets raped. It was just him and that woman. She just annoyed me and would just bored the shit out of me, and I was just like, I just don't care about you.
I can't remember that. Those bits.
It's a French woman, and they're in a hotel, and he's kind of and she's boring, and it's just like, I just don't care about any of this. And then because you just got Samuel L. Jackson, who's just the most unnecessarily cool character ever, and then you've got John Travolta, who's just a massive chode, but it works really well. And then you've just got Bruce Willis just being Butch, and his name is Butch, and he is Butch, and he just walks around basically kind of half yelling at things. And it's like, I don't really care that much, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think, there's Death Proof I haven't seen, but apparently it's quite crap. True Romance, have you seen that?
Yeah, well,
I haven't seen that.
I watched it once because they were showing it at Showcase, and well, I missed like the first sort of 20 minutes, but I doubt. But then, watching the rest of the movie, I kind of doubt that those 20 minutes would have really changed my opinion. True Romance is, it's again, it's like for me, it's like, it's like Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
So it's just,
And then obviously Django we've briefly touched upon, and then Kill Bill. Have you seen both of them? Mm-hmm. I like them, but I feel like
Kill Bill 1's very good, I think.
Yeah.
Kill Bill 2. Yeah,
I think I've seen them both once in full. I've seen bits and pieces of Kill Bill.
Same.
But it's just, the thing is, Tarantino is, I love him. He's like one of my favourite directors. And when I hear a new film of his is coming out, I'm like, yes. But you watch it, it's amazing, and then it's like, because I've got them all. I've got them there. It's like a Tarantino box set on Blu-ray. I haven't even rewatched. I have never seen True Romance or Death Proof, and I haven't rewatched Jackie Brownson's Again on Blu-ray or anything like that, because it's just like, they're so long. I'm watching up like Kill Bill is like 5 hours of your life, and it's like, do I really want to watch 5 hours of Uma Thurman walking around kind of fighting these kind of quirky characters and then slicing loads of people's arms off?
Shots.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And last of all, have you seen Hateful Eight?
No, I've not. It's on my watch list.
I think you'll really enjoy that, but I will say it's 3 hours long, and it takes a while to get going. Like, I watched it in the cinema with Jasmine, and it has an interlude in the cinema. There's like a 15-minute interlude in the middle, because Tarantino demanded it apparently. But it was like,
he demanded it.
Well, you know what he does? He does the whole act 1, act 2 sort of thing. He does it quite a lot. I know Wes Anderson does it as well. But it's like the first hour or so of Hateful Eight is pretty slow, and you're introducing the characters, and then it's got this 45-minute lull, and you're just like, is anything really going to happen? And then from the hour mark, the next 2 hours are two of the best hours of cinema I think I've seen in ages.
Wow.
It's so good. It is
lofty praise.
It's basically, the whole premise of the film is there's a murder mystery, but it takes about an hour for the first person to die. That's how, so it's a 3 hour long murder mystery.
That's exactly like Gosford Park, which is essentially, I think it's the precursor to Downton Abbey.
Okay.
And yeah, Gosford Park is like critically like revered, and it's that movie. I'm sure it's about like 2 hours 45 minutes, and the person that gets murdered is an hour and a half in.
Jesus.
Like, oh my god! Because it's like when you're trying to find films, you clutch at straws. I'm not really one to just like and the next one on Netflix. I'm like, sometimes I'm happy with that. Other times I have to go on Amazon Prime, or I just like scrolling through like, I don't know, Best Picture nominations on Wikipedia. I'm like, I need to find something. And when I found that, I was like, okay, this could be quite good. And then I just remember watching it. I was just like, oh my god! It was just really like, it's one of the. It's like Moonlight. You're there.
I haven't seen Moonlight yet.
Okay.
I keep putting it off because I keep hearing it's amazing, but it's one of those Oscar films which I'm like, is it going to be that good though? What's your opinion?
I don't know. To be pretentious, I guess it's like a fine wine. Like, I remember leaving the cinema, I was like, eh. But the more I think about it, I'm like, wow, it was quite good. Leah did not like still doesn't like it. But again, it's kind of, you're there watching it, and it's like a bit, it's not torture, people just, they're like, oh man. But then afterwards, when you think about it in reflection, it's like, oh, it's pretty good actually, because you can think about it in moments as opposed to like going through the slog. I suppose it's like a marathon. You do the marathon, like, this is awful, but then you're like, oh, I did the marathon. Oh, pretty good marathon. But
have you seen The Revenant?
Yeah, good film.
So you like that? See, I don't.
How? Because
I found that if you take away the half an hour's worth of shots of the forest, it's an alright film. It's 3 hours long, and you've got, or just under, and you've got, the opening scene, I will say, when I was watching that, the first 45 minutes wowed me, and I was like, this is going to be one of my favourite films, because the The whole scene at the start where it's like shit hits the fan and I think the place gets attacked that they're in or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think it's before the bear attacks. It's like they get attacked by something else, and then it's like I think it's like a one shot sort of thing, and I fucking love one shots. And it's just DiCaprio and loads of people, and everything's going crazy. And it's so well done. And then the horse, and he falls off the and then that's amazing. And then the bear attack is brutal as fuck, and it's horrendous to watch in a good way.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's about 2 hours of him basically grunting and crawling, which I know it's kind of the point. But then you've got Tom Hardy, who completely outshines DiCaprio, even though DiCaprio won the Oscar, which is just politics. But, Tom Hardy's character is really good, and so is Will Poulter's. And I just found it was just like, when it was on Tom Hardy and Will Poulter, I didn't really care that much. And then when it was on DiCaprio, I was like, I just want you to hurry the fuck up. And then the rest of the time, it was just looking at tree shots. And I was like, I get he's like this, he's quite up himself director because he's just got all these shots. But I swear to you, I feel like I want someone to find like a supercut of it and get all the footage, because me and Callum saw that. I got it on Blu-ray, I got it on Steelbook, and we watched it because we heard how amazing it was. And it was just so slow, like so many bits of it. I mean, I may have to rewatch it because I think...
Yeah, I think so, because like he's the director. It's the same one who did Birdman, and he...
I haven't seen Birdman.
Well, I can't remember what other film. It might have been some sort of space one, but like I'm pretty sure the cinematographer Lebetsky, he got, I think he's won the Oscar DOP nomination. Like he's won it like 3 times in a row.
Oh wow!
For all his like films.
Well, the director is Alejandro something or other. I can't pronounce his name.
Iñárritu, right? Yeah.
It's Alejandro Iñárritu.
Yeah, Mexican guy. I believe he's Mexican.
He is Mexican. Yeah, it says here he's Mexican director because he made The Revenant, Beautiful, Birdman, Babel.
I really want to see that.
I haven't seen any of these films.
Babel. What was the other film he did recently? I'm sure he did another one. Like, what was it?
Let's see. Los Ojos del Mar. Also, the producers. Let's see.
He did. I think he did Amores y Perros, which is like it roughly translates to like Life's a Bitch. It's supposed to be quite good, but I don't know. It's something to do with dog fighting. It's selling it quite short.
There's Carne y Arena.
Oh, Meat Arena. Nice.
So yeah, there's lots of. I think Beautiful's got thingy Bardem in it. And he's like...
Yeah, Javier Bardem, yeah.
Yeah, because he's obviously in No Country for Old Men. He is unbelievably amazing. And that film is so good. And then he's in... Have you seen Mother?
No.
That's a weird film. Not that great.
Again, that's quite polarising. That was out when I was working at the cinema, and some people would come up and then they'd be like, oh yeah, that was really good. And other people would, would be like, I want my money back. I'm like, it's not my problem. You didn't like it.
It's made by Darren Aronofsky, and he made Black Swan, and I thought Black Swan was fantastic.
I haven't seen it.
It's really, really good. Really good.
I have seen Requiem for a Dream.
And I was going to say, Requiem for a Dream is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah. I was going to say brutal. It's certainly something, I can't imagine it being someone's favourite film.
It's actually one of Rob's.
Oh, really?
I think Rob's favourite film ever is Amelie, and then closely followed by like Nightmare Before Christmas, as well as like Book of Life and Yes Man and a few other things. But Requiem for a Dream is in his top 10.
It's a great film, but I just, imagine like you're trying to introduce your partner to like your like favourite movies, and then you're like, oh, let me think. Let's watch my favourite, Requiem for a Dream. And at the end of it, you're like, what the... What? Especially as it ends on like, the like very brutal.
The two girls.
It's all brutal. It's just like, oh
yeah, the last half hour is horrendous. I mean, I saw Jared Leto in that. I was like, Jared Leto can act? Like what? And then you see him in lots of other things. He's actually a really good actor.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, American Psycho.
Yeah. I wasn't that wowed by American Psycho though.
Oh,
but I watched that ages ago.
You need to watch it again then.
That's the problem.
For sure. Yeah, because there was this. Someone had edited that. Do you remember the scene where they're showing off their business cards? Yes. Someone did it for. They replaced all the business cards with like Pokemon cards, and it's that whole thing where he's like, "Oh my god, look at the card." And he's like, "Yeah, it's good, isn't it?" It's like, it's such a. Christian Bale.
Oh, I do love
really
Christian
good.
Bale.
Yeah.
Have you seen? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I've seen like I've just had to quickly think. I've seen a few movies with him in, and he's great in all of them.
Have you seen The Machinist?
Oh, when he's like super
skin.
No, but I've seen the pictures. And
it's a pretty good movie. It's quite weird.
I liked him in Big Short.
I haven't seen that. That's the. That's not. I was thinking of Vice, but the Big Short.
Big Short's brilliant.
Is that other not money laundering? It's money.
It's about the
stock exchange.
Yeah, it's about the financial crash of 2008,
yes.
And it's about the people who were like aware of it, and it's just really slick because it's in that time, and it focuses on 3 different characters. You've got Christian Bale and his lot, and then you've got Ryan Gosling, and then his people, and then you've got these 2 other people who then eventually work with Brad Pitt, and they're all aware of like what's going on. And then the whole movie is basically just like saying how stupid everyone was, and it's great because one of the best parts of those movies are when it like it like breaks the fourth wall and stuff, and then it'll go to bits where it's like, oh, this sounds very confusing, so I'll get Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain what this means, and then it's like, oh yeah, so basically this means, and it does that a couple times.
I love that sort of thing.
Here's Mila Kunis and this other guy playing poker, and they're going to explain to you what like a suck fund is, and they're like, oh well, a suck fund. It's just like. It's very witty, very entertaining.
Oh, definitely
good ensemble cast.
Well, one of my favourite things in movies is narration. Like I like when a character's talking to the audience. Like Wolf of Wall Street. Have you seen that?
I thought I watched all of it, and I was only halfway through. I was like, oh my god! So I cut off.
Very very long.
Yeah, I was not prepared. I was like, oh, I thought I watched it all, and it was like an hour and a half. I was like, oh, halfway through, I was like, oh,
yeah, it's long as fuck. But it is fantastic. What about Wanted's a good one.
Is that the Angelina Jolie?
Yeah,
where she curves the bullet.
Yeah, it's stupid as fuck. But like,
I remember seeing that in the whole like the trailers. Like, I think at the time I was probably too young to watch, and it's like curve the bullet. I'm like, even then I was like, you can't do that.
Well, that's the point.
That's
the film in the film he says, you only told you can't cover bullets because you think you can't or whatever. And it's like. These sort of films are like, I think one it was developed from Comicbook or something, but there's a lot of these films where some people find it very hard, or is it suspension of disbelief sort of thing, where, because like me, my favourite film franchise is Star Wars. None of that's fucking possible. Like, most of Star Wars is absolutely ridiculous, either camp, ridiculous nonsense, or sci-fi jargon, mumbo jumbo that actually doesn't make any sense, and actually makes so little sense, it actually almost starts to bleed into, when they like use half real words and it fucks. But when I watch these sort of films a lot of the time, it depends on what the film is trying to convey. Like, when a film's trying to be realistic and then someone falls out of like a 5-story window and lives completely fine, you're like, okay, what is this doing? But when it's a film like, kind of like Kingsman, have you seen the... love them. You see, what is wrong with you? Why do we start this chat? Why do you even have you on? We don't agree on anything. That's what this podcast is about. It's only about agreeing with me.
Yeah, exactly. If it was just us like, oh, do you like this? Yes. Oh, me too. Yeah. Cool. That's cool. I've seen this. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, me too. Yeah, with Kingsman, I was just like, oh my god, yeah, no.
What's some of your, like, obviously you worked at the cinema for quite a while. How long did you work at the cinema for? A couple of years?
10 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
Felt like a long time to me, and I wasn't even working there. But
yeah.
What do you have any kind of like funny either stories about the cinema or just like films that everyone was like holy shit about, and then you watch and you're like, this is just not good?
Oh man, let me think quickly, because firstly working at the cinema, when I first started, I missed out on watching Hacksaw Ridge, Split, and Get Out.
All 3 of those films.
I know.
Amazing.
I've watched them afterwards. I was like, oh man, I missed them. But I'm trying to think of, because not to toot my own horn, but I think most of the films I wanted to watch and I ended up enjoying, and I was like, oh, thank God for that. But then, yeah, it was just some films you'd sort of be there and then you'd be like, you'd scoff and like, this will get nothing real easy, and then everyone would be like, yeah, can I see Girls Trip? I'm like, you're joking. What do you mean? Oh,
that is interesting. Because the amount of like, this is going to sound so derogatory, but normies. You know what I mean? Like, when you get people like, I love films, and they're like, what's your favourite film? And they say something like, I can't even think of an example of a really benign, dull film.
Yeah, Fast and Furious.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I will say with Fast and Furious, I basically got a girl I was dating. She's a good friend of mine now. She's been on the podcast, actually. Her name's Sophie.
Shout out.
Shout out to my previous podcast where we spoke about being catfished on Plenty of Fish and things like that. So, yeah. I know. Nice. It's quite a downloaded episode. It's one of my more popular episodes, weirdly enough. I think people quite like hearing other people's catfish stories.
Yeah, people love that. It's so strange.
It is strange. But she basically, I got her because all women, I don't even have to date them. I just have to know a woman, and then I will end up somehow getting to watch Star Wars. Like, I got Reese's sister into Star Wars. Jasmine into Star Wars, and she hadn't watched. She like most people have seen one or two, but not all of them. So
wait, what do you mean? Like literally
Star Wars,
Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones, or just like just one or two of the
one
films?
or two of them.
I was going to say
a couple. I should have said a couple.
If they just watch like 1 and 2, like they're like, I'll never watch this again.
Yeah, it's like
this is terrible.
Like, a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I got Jade into it and Jasmine into it. They want to watch it. It's not some sort of weird thing, but those two. So I watched all the films twice within like a year then, and then I watched them again because I got Becky into them, which is my ex as well, which is now Jasmine's best friend. So 3 of them. Then I got Sophie into them, which is 4. Then I got my current girlfriend Megan into them, which is 5. So I've watched them in the last, how many years has it been? Right, let me think. Jasmine and Jade was when I was dating Claire. So I think in 5 years, I've watched all of the Star Wars films at least 5 times. Yeah, I know. So I like them a lot. And whenever it's quite funny when I show people the Star Wars films as well, because it's like, when I did that, there is normally a trade-off. Like with Megan at the moment, I'm watching, because it's 10 films, I'm watching 10 films that she chose.
Is there 10?
Yeah, because there's the 8 episodes and then Rogue One and Solo. Well, actually there's 9 now in there.
Well, yeah. I mean, like...
They're not 9. Oh, man, there's 8 of them out episodes, yeah? Then there's also Rogue One.
Yeah.
And then there's also Solo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the only one I haven't seen, Solo.
Yeah. So that's 10. And then there's also technically Clone Wars, the animated series movie, which is very good. And then obviously 9th one's coming out this year, which is actually the 11th one. But regardless.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, not a great name, but we'll see. But then again, all of the end of the trilogy to start with an R. Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. You know, it kind of...
Yeah, but, well, is it called The Revenge of the Sith? Is it called the Return of the Jedi, the Rise of Skywalker?
No, it's Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi.
And this one is the Rise of Skywalker, isn't it? It's not Rise of Skywalker, right? Isn't it?
I think it's the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I think it is. But then it's the Force Awakens, the Last Jedi, the Rise
Rogue
of Skywalker. The
Rogue One,
the Rogue One, the crazy Rogue One. Right. But basically, where I was going with I'm not trying. I think people listening to these podcasts is the Rise of Skywalker. I think a lot of these people who listen to my podcast, watching it would be pointless. Listening to these podcasts, I do bring up Star Wars not as often as I probably would want to, but I seem to somehow. And I just went off a little tangent about Star Wars. I'm not even trying to talk about Star Wars. I'm trying to talk about Fast and Furious. I basically got her to watch all the Star Wars films, and at the time, that was when 8 of them were out. That's when Last Jedi was not out, and we watched it at the cinema together.
Yeah.
So at that point, Rogue One was the newest, and
it's my favourite.
That new Rogue One's fucking awesome.
It's really good.
But I got her to watch them. With Megan at the moment, I watched The Help, Easy A, Crazy Stupid Love.
That's really good. Crazy Stupid
They're all surprisingly good movies. Like most chick flicks are actually good films. Like 10 Things I Hate About You. That wasn't that great, but there's a lot of chick flicks. Like I've seen the Bridget Jones movies because. It's one of these things. I get these women to watch Star Wars, which is for me like I hugely love Star Wars, and they show me Bridget Jones' Diary, The Holiday, 10 Things I Hate About You, The Help.
You need a trade-off.
The Help is amazing.
It's like, oh yeah, can we watch Star Wars? It's like, yeah, as long as we watch this. And you're like, oh no.
Well, that's what I've been.
This is the worst trade-off in history.
It's great. But it's like I do these with and Megan at the moment. I think I'm film 8 or 9 or something, and then I can actually start showing her films that I love, because what she knows about me is that I talk a lot and I love Star Wars. But I haven't really shown her any movies except The Isle of Dogs, and she wasn't really a big fan of that, which upsets me because that film's fucking amazing. But with
it's not his best.
It's not his best. No,
it's not my favourite of his, but
yeah,
it's good.
I'd say I'll look back to that because I do want to talk about Wes Anderson. Yeah. But with Fast and Furious, I basically watched them all, and the funny thing is with Fast and Furious is it's got a lot of similarities to Star Wars on the lack of quality in a lot of them. Because episodically, the first Fast and Furious, the first one, the second one are dog shit. The second one's the first one's not great. The second one is fucking terrible.
What's the second one called again? Isn't
Too Fast, Too Furious. And then the third one, Tokyo Drift, I didn't even watch because she said it's so bad you don't need to watch it. It's got nothing to do with the other ones. Then the fourth one, which they just called Fast and Furious.
Yeah, because wasn't it a reboot? Wasn't it like... Firstly, it was like about racing cars, and then it was about heists or something.
Yeah, basically.
And they just changed it. They're like, oh man, how are we going to keep this franchise going?
Exactly. And Fast is The Fast and The Furious, because the first one's called Fast and Furious, and so the fourth one is The Fast and The Furious. The fourth one isn't very good either, but it's okay. Then the fifth one, I think there are 8. The fifth one was actually surprisingly enjoyable, like surprisingly good. And then the 6th, 7th, and 8th ones are actually really good action films. Like, legitimately, if you take away, like... basically the car porn essentially of look at this engine, look at it revving. It's like, okay, I don't care. I know everyone else who watches these films care, but I don't. Yeah. And then once The Rock and Jason Statham got in it, they constantly take the piss out of the other actors because most of the people like Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and what's the guy who plays Tyrese called? I can't remember his name, but the guy who plays Tyrese. Is
it Ludacris?
No, Ludacris is actually good in it. But there's a guy. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's in the second one. He basically replaces Vin Diesel because Vin Diesel's not in the second one because Vin Diesel didn't want to do another one because the first one was canned by critics, I think, or he didn't get paid enough.
And then so he came back?
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's ridiculous.
I'm back.
I'm back now.
Because it's cool.
Because now people care about this and I'm running out of money. But his acting, the guy who plays Tyrese, is so bad, it's a joke. But then in the later films, they're also basically referencing how Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, and Vin Diesel's not that tough, Paul Walker's a douche, and the other guy's an idiot. And that's got The Rock and Jason Statham and Ludacris basically ripping on them all the time, makes it good because it's like self-referencing almost. And they talk about how bad their adventures were in the early films. It's like it's so stupid, but it works really well. In the last few films, they're not even directed by a guy who does car movies. They're directed by I think the guy who did the 8th one made some of the Saw films.
What him? James Wan?
Yes. James Wan. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know his name. I'll show you. It's I think he made the 7th. James Wan. Here we go. Yeah, he's the writer of Saw, and he made Fast and Furious 7. He was the director, and he obviously made The Conjuring 1 and 2.
Conjuring 1's alright.
And he made Jigsaw. That was pretty good as well. Anyway, he just seems to have made all of them. He's produced Insidious, Lights Out, Annabelle, Saw 1 to all of the Saw films. He's been either a producer or an executive producer. Yeah. He wrote the story of Aquaman and The Nun. Saw Heritage. What?
Is that a new one? Oh, for God's sake.
No, it came out in 2016.
What? Which one's that? Was that the one with the guy from Linkin Park in it?
No, that's the 8th one. 7th one. No, it's actually it's a short. It's a 2016 short. It's 9 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
What the
I wonder what happens. Someone's trapped in a maze.
Well, it's got Amanda in it. It's got 6.1 out of 10 out of 34 reviews. Don't even know where they came from. But yeah, he made Insidious, Dead Silence,
didn't he do...
MacGyver?
MacGyver?
He made the movie MacGyver in 2016.
Oh, no.
Yeah, crazy.
I thought he did something else which was kind of not... his repertoire.
I'll take a quick look at his directorial stuff. So he directed Aquaman, MacGyver, The Conjuring 2, Fast and Furious 7, Insidious 2, The Conjuring 1, Insidious 1, Doggy Heaven. Is that what you're thinking of? That's 2008.
No.
Then Death Sentence, Dead Silence, Saw the short, and then Stygian. They're all the ones that he directed.
Yeah.
But then he's produced quite a lot.
Yeah, because it was him and that. I think his name's Lee Wanell, and they did all the Saw movies. Because the first Saw. I think it's probably... I don't know how well it's aged, to be honest.
The first one, because I've got them all, you can see them up there, including Jigsaw, actually. And I watched... Have you seen all the Saw movies?
No. Well, how many more do you have to watch? How much of a payout is there from the story? Well, you watch the first one, you're like, cool. You maybe watch the second one, you're like, okay. And then what else are you going to get?
The first 4 are genuinely brilliant. Like the third and the fourth one.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
The storyline of them, there's twists, there's turns, there's people in crucifixes that spin and their arms pop out, which is horrendous to watch. But, it's the worst. But Saw 1 is, I thought... right, and then I thought Saw 2 was amazing, and I thought Saw 3 and 4 were also amazing, and then Saw 5 is one of the worst films I've ever seen. No, Saw 5 is crap, and then Saw 6 is one of the worst films I've ever seen, and then Saw 7 brings it back to just be crap. And then Jigsaw is good. It's just like, that was unnecessary, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I remember, starting secondary school, and that's when Saw was still sort of kind of relevant. Everyone's like, oh my God, it was really good. I'm like, nah, rubbish. It's just... Even then, I was just like, it's just people just dying for sort of no reason, or it's just how can you sort of find entertainment in just it was like Final Destination. I've never seen any of them, and it's just because you see enough of it on the internet. From my point of view, the internet sort of still felt kind of a bit like it's certainly not what it is now.
No, because this go back because obviously you're
2009.
Yeah, because you're in uni now, and I'm you're the same age as Leah.
Yeah.
So you're what? Are you 20 now?
21.
21. There you go. And obviously I'm 25. So we are very similar. Like, I was just a bit older than you when the internet thing, but I was like when you were talking about Saw, I think I was in college and stuff, and I was old enough. I wasn't old enough to see them, I think, when they first came out.
So 2009, 2010, I'll say.
Yeah, well, Saw 1, just for...
Saw 1 was...
That says 4. So that was when
2004, huh?
Yes, that... Actually, I was old enough to see that when it came out, because I was 20 years old when that came out. Huh. I just didn't watch it then. I could have watched it, I just didn't.
What did you say? You were 20 in 2004? Is that what you just said?
Oh my god, my maths, 10. There we go. Jesus
You
Christ.
would have been able to see that.
Man, I'm
It's not going to be a PG.
I thought for some reason that 94 plus 20 made 04 because I'm completely an idiot. There we go. That explains it. That explains why I didn't see the Saw movie. Yeah, so I wasn't even old enough to watch Saw until 2008.
Yeah.
So that, and that was, I think, I mean, I was old enough to watch them on DVD and things because obviously you just get someone else to buy them for you. But like,
yeah.
I think the Saw, I don't know when actually the last Saw films came out because
probably like at this point 3 years ago, I want to say.
Well, yeah, I think Jigsaw was only like last year.
No. Wait, really?
Jigsaw was, yeah. I think Jigsaw was early last year. I think it was like February last year. Saw 3 is 2006. Let's find out when Jigsaw came out. Jigsaw 2017. Oh, wait, we're 2019. It's 2 years ago then.
Damn.
So you are kind of right, yeah. I wonder how long until they make another one.
Oh, man. Probably like they'll wait a few years, probably.
God, got 5.8. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then it'll just be like, oh, he's back. Or it'd be like a prequel, maybe. They love a prequel, don't they? Or they'll just reboot it, like that Halloween movie last year.
Well, apparently that's really good. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the original.
I don't know. Like the trailer just made it look like someone can. Like, it was like I know enough about Halloween. I've never seen it, and then watching that trailer, I was just like, eh. And I think I remember how the movie goes, and I'm pretty sure I guessed what happened for that newest Halloween. But don't know. I'm more of a fan of like the sort of thriller horrors that are coming out at the moment, where it's like It Follows and The Witch, ones where it's like not necessarily like scary, but it's just like it makes you feel uneasy. Those are the ones where it's just like, oh, it makes you uncomfortable, and just like, you know, because in The Witch, like nothing. Before I say, I don't think I'm trying to think. Nothing really outwardly like scary happens. It depends on.
Well, same as It Follows. Because I've seen It Follows.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a brilliant premise for a film. I just thought it wasn't executed as perfectly as it could be. I just found there was quite a few moments in that were quite slow because I was like, this is really cool, but one of the guys, I think I watched it in a group of people, and we're saying like, one of the issues they had with it is scary. Obviously, having something that's always coming for you is scary. I agree, but it is one of those things where it's like, this is kind of like,
don't say like, oh, just get a plane.
Well, that is essentially what the guys said. They were like, why don't you just go somewhere else? And they're like, well, walk through water. So yeah, but the amount of time it takes to walk.
These are like college kids who've got parents and family. Like, how you go, I need to get a plane. Why? Something's following me. Like,
true. Yeah,
if it was like a 40-year-old man, yeah, all right, go for it. But these are like college kids, and you know, they're not like you've got to like live in the world of the movie.
Yeah,
and you know, I'd think if they were like, wait a minute. Why don't we just get a plane ticket and we'll fly somewhere? All right, gang. 3 months later, oh no, right, let's fly back.
Well, that's basically...
I'm out watching that movie. Oh yeah, I really enjoyed 2 hours of 25 years of people flying, going to different places. Oh, I was really scared. Oh, remember when they're in the airport? Oh, bloody hell.
Go through customs and
exactly.
Water confiscated.
It's like sometimes when although it's kind of... It goes against human nature, but sometimes if you try and overthink things, it'll ruin it. Like, have you seen Us?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, okay. But like, I watched it, and then again, I was like, oh, amazing. But then a couple other people I was with, they were trying to like, because there were some things where, you know, they were presented, and it wasn't exactly with like great exposition, which was fine. Like, you know, it wasn't. I didn't want someone to be like, oh, and now here is this, and this is this, because otherwise I'd just be like, oh, whatever. But then. Yeah, there'd just be some things and they'd show them, and but then they'd be like, oh, I wanted to know more about this. I want to know more about that. And it's like, yeah, but that just adds, that would just slow things down. You know, like I couldn't imagine. It was like, and it would just slow things down if you're just like trying to get through this story, you're hitting all the markers, and then, you know, it's like, oh, wait, what's this? It's like, oh, well, let me tell you. It's just like, nah, come on, just get on with it.
That's a very good point with movies, because I find... I've got two things to say, but one of them's about best horror people, but we'll leave that for the moment. But like with With films, I will say I agree with you because I can't remember what film it was that I thought about this. It was a horror film recently, I think. It might have been Quiet Place or something, but it's basically one of those films where...
I haven't seen it.
It's
I
good
really want to.
It is a really good film. I mean, Get Out's a fantastic movie, but that's more of a thriller sort of thing. But that film is so good.
Yeah, Gaz, really.
I love it. But like with...
Why should see Us?
Well, I've heard about because it's made by the same person. It's another Jordan Peele. Yeah. Well, it's like... the thing is with a lot of films is what they have to do is not over-explain too much. And that's what... Because there's a lot of films that have plot holes, like... oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's either a series or a film where it's basically... I loved the fact they don't try and explain anything. Where, you get certain films... A good example is time travel, right? Any film that even vaguely tries to describe time travel immediately just fucks itself over. Because the problem is that as soon as you try to explain it completely falls apart.
I feel like Doctor Who does it quite well.
Doctor Who, but that's its main premise. That's like everything about Doctor Who is essentially time travel. But when it's, when it's like, for example, Harry Potter, I assume you've seen all the Harry
Potter.
Prisoner
of Azkaban.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, that's really cool.
It's not great, is it?
That's what I mean.
Well, it's the best Harry Potter, arguably, other than Goblet of Fire. But yeah, that whole time travel thing, it's like, because they've done it, and then, so they've just created, they basically create an infinity loop. Yeah. Where they just...
And the problem, you get a lot of films which are just like, I mean, have you seen The Butterfly Effect?
Well, Ashton Kutcher, no. That's
a really good film. It's one of my favourites, actually. I love it.
Really? It looks kind of like a lame mid-noughties film.
It's not rated that well, weirdly, but it is actually... It's very clever and it's very dark. Like, if you watch the director's cut version, it is very dark. Like,
there's a director's cut? Wow.
I've got the director's cut, actually. It's just got a different ending. Because the normal ending's, like, lame. Like, if you... Like, literally, I've only seen the director's cut, and I watched the normal edition on YouTube. I watched the non-director's cut ending, and I was like, what? It's basically just pathetic and unnecessary. It's just like, it's like really happy almost, whereas the other one's like not at all. So it's one of those things. It's like, but there's a lot. The thing is, with time travel, it kind of depends on what's in it. In Harry Potter, it's a side thing, and when you have time travel as a side thing, or you trying to kind of introduce it in,
basically the whole third act, right?
But I mean, when you think of Harry Potter, you don't think time travel. When you think Doctor Who, you think time travel.
Right, okay.
That's what I mean, because there's certain films which they just kind of have, like, in a movie franchise, there's normally, if there's like 8 films or whatever, there's normally one film where time travel happens, and then it just never makes any sense. Because they kind of half under and over explain it, and then you're like, but doesn't that cause a paradox? No, we're just not going to talk about that. Doesn't it cause... And there's all this weirdness to it, whereas I think time travel is probably the hardest one, because... The problem is with time traveling is if you go back in time to stop something happening, you would have never gone back in time to stop it happening, so it would happen, and therefore you go back in time. And that obviously is what makes a paradox.
Yeah.
But I mean, like with, I think alien invasions and things like that, or zombie movies. It was zombies, that's what I was thinking of. There's a zombie movie I watched semi-recently, which I can't remember what it was, but it was quite, I think it was Girl with All the Gifts. Have you seen that?
Oh, that one. I heard good things about it when it was in its release.
Yeah, it's quite 28 days later-y, so it's not like actiony. It's quite like there's a first scene, which is another one shot, my favourite thing.
You'd really love Children of Men.
I love that film. It's got the best one shot in it ever, isn't it? Right near the end. Fucking love it.
Wait, which one's
the one shot when he's walking through the building when he's got the baby and he's just walking and it's just the camera just doesn't move.
The when they get attacked in the car, that's much better.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that film has got so many good one shots. Like literally, if I watch it...
that is, I'm pretty sure that's Alfonso Cuarón, who directed Prisoner of Azkaban.
Really?
Yeah, it's so strange.
That is I mean, I totally do that.
And he also did Gravity. Yeah, so it's just like he's done these like
I haven't seen Gravity.
Good films. Well, critically acclaimed good films, and he did Roma.
I was going to say Roma. The only reason I know about that film is because Billie Eilish does a song for Roma, and I absolutely love her song for Roma, and I've never even seen it. He's done quite a few films.
But yeah, it's just randomly like Prisoner of Azkaban.
He was an associate producer on Beautiful by that guy who made The Revenant.
Oh.
So these weird connections.
What is Beautiful? I don't think I've heard of it. I need to like...
There's the...
Whoa.
Whoa. I don't know anything about it.
What the hell is that? I've never even heard of this one.
No, nor have I.
But it's got Javier Bardem. Okay.
Yeah, I do love a bit of Javier Bardem. He's a great actor, even though I've only seen him in 3 films, which is Pirates of the Caribbean 5, No Country for Old Men.
Oh, God, you didn't watch Pirates of the Caribbean 5, did you?
I've seen them all.
Okay, well, I liked the first 3, and then the 4th one, I was like, oh. And then when number 5 came out, obviously I was wasn't aware of it. And that's just going back to like being at the cinema. I remember, I think it was like the opening day, and this group of 4 came along, and you know, it's like, oh, like, where do you want to sit? Showed the thing. It's like, oh, we can sit in the green. It's like, yeah. It's like, why are there so many green? Isn't it supposed to be quite popular? You know, it's the opening day. And in my head, I'm thinking like, yeah, probably because it'd be quite bad. But out loud, I'm like, I have no idea. It's very strange, isn't it? They're like, yeah. Walk away. I'm like, oh, you just poor people. Yeah. And then, yeah, when I saw, I'm pretty sure I saw them once they come out. And well, they didn't really look very overjoyed. So,
well, the problem is with Pirates of the Caribbean movies is just chuck it. Thanks.
Oh,
the problem is with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is the first one is probably the best pirate film, if not the only good one I've ever seen. Like, are there any pirate films?
Ooh.
I know there's a film called Master and Commander, but I haven't seen it. I know it's like really long.
Would you count Captain Phillips as a pirate movie?
I haven't seen it, but that's Somalian pirates, isn't it? Like, technically they are.
Yeah.
I mean, all I know is I'm the captain now. Like, that meme was everywhere.
Yeah, look at me, I'm the captain now. Yeah.
Yeah, is that a good film?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a...
Yeah. That's the year of, it's a good film, but it's not one of my favourites, and do you want to spend 2.5 hours watching it?
Yeah, probably. It feels like on the same vein as, like, Zero Dark 30, like The Hurt Locker. It's like, you know...
I love The Hurt Locker, but
it's quite an epic. It's, you know... But then, again, it's like...
Do you feel like it? Like, do you have any films that have got a lot of rewatch value? Like, I mean, mine was obviously, when I was younger, I used to watch Star Wars. Like, I had Star Wars on VHS, and I used to watch episode 2 all the time, and then just skip through all the Padme and Anakin bits. Like, I don't care about their love story, their really shit, boring love story. I just want to watch people fight with laser swords.
So, of course, it gets everywhere. Strangely, I'll start by saying that probably no one else will gain rewatch value in it, but Prisoners.
I haven't seen that. Wait, is that the one with the series that it's got... It's not Jake Gyllenhaal. It's
Jake Gyllenhaal's in the movie with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, is it Prisoners? Because I think I was told to watch. One film.
I'd recommend it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's got Paul Dano.
Wait, it's made by Dennis. What's his face? Is he the one who made?
Yeah, Blade Runner, Arrival.
Oh, the new Blade Runner is amazing. I was well surprised how good that was. But then I really didn't like the original.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was because I really liked the book that's based on, and then watching that movie, I was like, "It's nothing like the book. It's not fair. Why don't they talk about sheep and religion like in the book?"
What?
Yeah, well,
sheep and religion
in the book, because the book's called "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?"
Oh, and that's yeah.
And one sort of small, well, I don't know how to describe it. One part of the book is in this future. There's no animals.
Yeah.
They're all dead. So owning an artificial animal is like a status thing.
Right.
Like having a car. Like, you know, a sheep is better than a cow and a chicken. It's all a rating system. And then at one point in the book, what's the name? Is it Rachel? Like the android who's like really aware, like kills Deckard's sheep, and he's like, "Oh, what? Do that for?" But it's really good. I can't remember all the details, but it's because in I was doing English literature, had to read books, and it was like that you could apply socialist theories to. So I read Time Machine. What's it called? Brave New World. That's it. And then Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And I realised it's based for Blade Runner. I watched Blade Runner. I was like, oh. And then it's like, again, Harrison Ford. It's an all right role, and it's got that bit at the end where it's like, you know, the monologue, like, oh, like tears lost in the rain. I was like, that's pretty cool. But then there's one bit which really threw me off where it was kind of, what's the word? It was kind of like rapey, where he
with him and the girl, and he was like, he makes out with her, and she kind of pushes him away a little bit. And
you like this? I like this.
Yeah, he like slams her against the wall and stuff. I remember watching that and being like, this is really not making me comfortable.
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I remember watching that because I watched that film because I got the fucking director's cut of that, and that's long as hell. And because there's like 5 editions of it, and I watched the director's cut of Blade Runner. I got it on DVD because my dad got it for me, and when I was getting really, really into sci-fi when I was younger. And my dad's favourite actor, I think, or one of them, was Harrison Ford, because he loved Indiana Jones, he loved the original Star Wars. So obviously that alone is like, well, yeah, to be fair, he's in a lot of other films as well. But
is he?
He goes for phase, I think.
Is he really? Like Harrison Ford, really?
Well, I think he...
Was it Patriot Game? That's the only one I can think of. Like, what else is he in?
Ender's Game. He's in.
What's that?
That was a.
What's that?
It's like a sci-fi film that kind of flopped a bit. I think I haven't seen it, so I'm doing a bad example of saying what films Harrison Ford may or may not be in. Just makes me think of that. Have you seen much Family Guy?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You know that Family Guy skit is one of my favourite sketches of theirs when it says, and now returning to, whenever they do like the TV shows or the movies, now returning to Harrison Ford running down the street, grabbing people, shaking them and saying, I want my family back. And it's just got Harrison Ford running through, so grabbing someone saying, I want my family back. And then just running to someone else and doing it constantly. And it's like, that is basically Harrison Ford. It's like him being a smart aleck and then him doing that sort of thing.
God.
But the reason, I watched Blade Runner and then... I watched when I was quite young, so obviously this was, let me think when Dad was about, I think I was about 14 or 15 when I watched that. And I remember watching it and I was like, this is so slow and boring and fuck all was happening. And then it ended, I was like, good. And I didn't watch it for ages. And then the new one came out or was advertised and I was like, well, I do quite like Ryan Gosling. I do actually like Harrison Ford. And I was like...
Jared Leto.
Well, yeah, and Jared Leto was pretty good in most things. So I was like, and it looked really cool. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about Blade Runner. Because you know you get all these big films that people are like, this is amazing. And then you're watching it, I don't get it. I rewatched it with my brother Justin, well, you know Justin, obviously. Yeah. Justin and Callum, because we were all going to go see the new one together, and we did. And Justin was like, I remember it being quite good, the original one. And me and Callum were like, we remember it being quite crap. And we watched it in here about a year ago, or 2 years ago probably now. And I remember we were watching it, and then it got about halfway through, and then we were all like, this is actually quite shit, isn't it? And then you're watching it like, the problem is
and that spurred you on to then watch the second one.
Well, the thing is
somehow.
That we would decide to, I think we'd already booked the cinema for the following day or something. So we actually, we were like, let's watch it. And the problem is that I found with it was that it's dirty future, which I like when, what's his face does it? The guy who made District 9 and Elysium and Chappie. I love his
Blomkamp, right?
Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah.
I love his directorial style. I love his dirty future. Yeah. But I found that it was just kind of dull and grim in Blade Runner. And it was like, the main character is really unlikable. And then everyone he kind of comes across is kind of boring. The cyborg, or the synths, or whatever they're called. What are they called?
Yeah, I think it's synth
or something. I
don't know.
And then he's got that weird rapey scene.
Androids, I just remember. That's how...
Yeah, I think...
if they stuck to the book, it'd have been much better. The ending for the book is... If I'm remembering it right, it's...
The problem is I found the ending, it was all this build-up and he's slowly hunting down these androids.
Yeah.
But then he gets that guy, the main guy who's been fighting the whole time, played by Rutger Hauer or whatever. And it's a really big, it's not even epic, because epic makes it sound like it's interesting. They're just them fighting in the rain and just basically fist fighting. And then he's getting absolutely destroyed by the android guy, like really badly beaten. And then I think at one point he's hanging off the edge. And then the android guy just decides to bring him up and then shoots himself. And that ends. And you're like... You're telling me I spent 2.5 hours watching Harrison Ford run around in the rain, half rape a girl, and then fighting all these things. And it gets to the end of it, of all this fucking build-up. And what happens is he basically loses, and the android just lets him win and kills himself, and that ends. And you're like, I mean, we were watching it like, what the fuck was that? And like, what? And, oh, man. And it was just like, it plods along. Like, there's a bit where he spends ages with that thing, and he just keeps going, enhance.
Oh,
zoom in.
Enhance. Yeah.
It's like, why would if the TV could make something zoom in high quality, why would it not just auto enhance? Like, why?
Or just say like, just if he's like looking at the specific bit, just like keep fucking doing it instead of going like, you don't have to do it like point and click. It's like, okay, just be like, all right, zoom enhance to this specific bit. You can hear me, can't you? You're just fucking me. Just like, all right, zoom enhance. All right, a bit more, a bit more. Oh, I got it now. And I was like, great, well done.
There was just so many scenes of him by himself, kind of looking, just there, like thinking, like mulling about, like, I'm Harrison Ford and I'm edgy and no one cares about me and no one likes me, but this one girl kind of does, but she might be an android and I hate them, but I don't know. And it's like, oh, come on. There's no like character depth to him because he's just such a twat.
Yeah.
He's really, really unlikable.
But so in the book, I think what helps with that is like the very first thing is like in Blade Runner, do you see his wife? Does he even talk about it?
He talks. I think he has a photo of her or something.
Yeah, like in the book, it starts like he wakes up and he like notes that like she's depressed, and then she just like plugs herself into this machine, and then the machine is basically like this weird fake religion thing. It's all about climbing to the top of a mountain and stuff.
Yeah,
and like that's like a whole big thing of the book, which then there's like nothing in the movie. I can't remember the name of the religion, but it's like that's like a whole huge part of the book, and then again, that's why I much prefer it, because you don't feel like. Oh, this guy's an asshole.
But that's the
him
thing.
trudging about in the rain all the time, because that's not what.
It's being gruff.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that movies ruined books for me, because what kept happening was there'd be like a movie or there'd be a book that come out, and I go, I really want to read that actually, and then I'd either start reading it or I would read it, and then the movie would come out, and then because the book was so much better, it would just ruin the movie. But I can watch movies a lot quicker than I can read books. And I was actually getting quite annoyed because the amount of people I hear, and I agree with them a lot of the time, where they go, the book was better. It's like, I would rather watch a film that's really good than read a really good novel and then watch a shit film. And then it kind of ruined them both. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which sounds like a really lame excuse, and I sound like such a fucking millennial saying, you know what, I've actually chosen to not read very many books because I've beaten the system. Ha ha. It's not that.
No.
It's because I'm lazy as fuck, and I'm not lazy, reading a book is a big commitment, and I do not have time for that. And that's my argument. And
Make
I'm sticking
time.
to it.
Because, once again, it's really
audiobooks. I'm going to get into Audible at some point because I listen to so many podcasts, but I'm going to get into Audible solely so I can listen to Star Wars books.
Oh.
I was bought 4 Star Wars books, and I'm like halfway through one of them, but I never.
What more info will they give that you really want?
All of it, mate. I want to fill in all the gaps between all the movies.
Surely there aren't any gaps,
mate. You don't understand. Oh. There's 10 movies out that stretch only 60 years of the canon timeline, okay? But between episode 3 and episode 4, there's a 22-year gap.
Rogue One, mate.
Yeah.
Sorts out completely.
And that is about a week.
Pretty good week.
Yeah, it's a pretty good week, but Rogue One finishes about an hour before New Hope starts. So you've actually got, 21 years, 50 weeks, and then Rogue One. So you've got... There's 3 series. There's 3 series, mate. There's Clone Wars series, which I've seen all of. There's the Rebels series. Rebels is between 3 and 4.
Oh, right.
And that's how the rebellion started.
That just puts the Rogue One bit then, right?
Yeah, that's before. It's set before Rogue One, and some of the characters in Rogue One, like Saw Gerrera, are in the series, and they're in the Clone Wars.
I like the movie. I just no idea what any of them are called.
Well, that's what. Well, Saw Gerrera.
One of them called Jyn Erso, right?
Jyn Erso's the main one.
Hey.
Saw Gerrera is Forrest Whitaker's character.
Oh, him, yeah.
Yeah, where it shows how he got in the suit and how he's the way he is and all that sort of stuff and how he argued with the rebellion. And he, I think there's a point where he basically sets off a bomb in a city and it kills loads of innocent people and loads of empire. And he's like, it's worth it to kill the empire. And that's how him and the rebellion kind of split. And that's why Mon Mothma, which is the woman in white.
She's in the
original.
Yeah, 4 and 5 and 6.
Yeah. So it's like, the thing is, one thing I won't go into detail because I think I've spoken about Star Wars in this podcast before, but I don't normally go into much detail about it, but one of the reasons I love it so much, I mean, I'm wearing Star Wars pajamas now, but I get my next Star Wars tattoo in next month.
Wait.
The reason is 2-pronged sword to why I like it so much. I mean, one of them is the
wooden lightsaber.
Nicely done. One of them is it's basically, it sounds really lame in a sense, but I've kind of self-realized it about me. I really, really loved Star Wars as a kid. And I used to watch it all the time with my dad. He got me into Star Wars. It was always playing on ITV, the 6 of them. And he was always watching them. Every Friday he would be watching them. So I'd always see him watching them and I'd always watch them with him. And then he would buy me a lot of the Star Wars games, including Lego Star Wars, Force Unleashed, all these sorts of other games.
Such a good one. That's the best Lego game.
Yeah, but definitely.
Lego Star Wars.
100%.
Lego Star Wars 2 though. Not the first one. Lego Star Wars 2.
Mate, get the complete saga.
No. Lego Star, just Lego, leave it. Leave it alone, mate. Just Lego Star Wars 2.
Shut up.
Leave it alone.
You're killing everyone. But it's with those games, I really loved them and playing, the Star Wars games and stuff, and I had lightsabers and that sort of thing. And then I was really, really into Star Wars. And then obviously Revenge of the Sith came out and I was really, really into it. And then, that was 2005. And then there wasn't really much Star Wars out. There was the Clone Wars series going on, which I didn't really watch at that point. And there was the animated movie of Clone Wars, which was quite crap. And so I just kind of lost a bit with Star Wars because there wasn't really any new content apart from the odd book. So I kind of wavered a bit. And then I realized once Dad passed away, and then it was only about a year, I think it was only a year after that, the Force Awakens trailer came out. So, and obviously what's kind of happened, it's 2-pronged. There are 2 reasons I love Star Wars mainly. One of them is because Dad passed away. I have great happy memories with my dad. That's part of the reason I got the Star Wars tattoo. So whenever I see Star Wars, there's that sort of relating to me when I was a kid sort of thing, as well as it's kind of like almost watching them for Dad in a moment. When I watched Force Awakens, he never even knew there was going to be any of the Star Wars films. And it's kind of that weird thing that I do think about quite a lot. But also, another side of it is Star Wars has a world unlike anyone else, right? So here's the example. With Marvel's a great one, right? The cinematic universe, there's 20 movies, right? All interconnected. And there's loads of comics as well. But the comics aren't the same timeline. With Marvel, there's about 1 billion different universes. In fact, there's comic series about the multiverse interconnecting with itself. You know, did you see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
No.
You should. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Best Spider-Man movie. But like, it's basically saying that there's alternate reality versions of everyone in all the, you know, there's like Deadpools, 1 billion different Deadpools, and there's like Spider-Man Deadpool, there's Punisher Deadpool, all kind of, you know. And so every universe is a different iteration of a different person with a slight tweak. And that's how comics keep it fresh, how they've have 1 billion reiterations of, you know, Spider-Man, Captain America, Batman, Superman, blah. So what they are is a multiverse with all these things that aren't really connected of just alternate versions of the same thing.
Right.
Star Wars, there is one version of it, and everything that's added is the same universe.
Yeah.
So if you're really into it like I am, most people aren't into it like I am, but like, you got to think, I watch a movie and it's a huge amount of Star Wars. There's loads of characters, lots of stuff happens, things blow up, people die, whatever. You then read a book that isn't even related to the new movies, but it has a character in it that is a character in those movies, but it doesn't make a big deal about it. It's just a story about 20 odd characters. One of them just happens to be in one of the main movies, but that's with everything. So there's like 15 comic book series out, and I was reading one which recently finished, which is the Darth Vader comics, and it's right after Darth Vader became Darth Vader at the end of episode 3, and so, you know, he gets burnt on Mustafar and then gets the suit on for the first time,
right?
You know.
But we see all that.
Yeah. That's at the end. It's like the last thing you see, more or less. It's at the same time Luke and Leia are being born. It's the same time Vader gets put in his suit. It's like the sort of balancing.
So what does the comic do that the movie doesn't then?
Well, the comic is straight after the film. So what it does is it shows Vader's struggle dealing with him being in the suit and dealing with the Emperor. Basically, the Emperor was always talking to him like, "You're the chosen one. You can do what you want." Blah blah. As soon as he lost to Obi-Wan, he became the Emperor's prisoner. He basically, he's his pet. He's on a leash. He can't ever, anything he wants to do now, the Emperor holds his leash. He's just the Emperor's dog, essentially. And it's him adjusting to the suit. It's him not trying to fight the Emperor. Like, after Padme died, you see him go, "No," in the film, and it's terrible. No. But after that, there's a scene where he force pushes Palpatine into a wall in anger. And Palpatine electrocutes him and says, "I understand you're in pain, but if you ever do that again, I'll fucking kill you." And that, like, from the get-go, he's immediately... And Palpatine's so much more powerful than Vader in so many ways. Vader's always trying to undercut Palpatine throughout the whole of the 20 years up till A New Hope. And that's why when Luke comes into it, it's a bit less of a... Oh, how did he suddenly change? It's like he's actually kind of been trying to forever. Because he always thought he was the chosen one. He has all the power. He got cocky. Loses to Obi-Wan, who's just meant to be, like, not the best Jedi ever. He's just meant to be a good Jedi. He gets beaten in a sword fight between the guy who's the Master of Defense, which is, you know, not even the Master of Attack or anything. And then this happens, and then he becomes Palpatine's pet, essentially. He's got his arms and legs cut off. He's stuck in this suit that Palpatine made, which is really susceptible to electricity. So when he gets forced, like, electrocuted, force lightning, but that's the point. That's why Palpatine made it like that. So, you know what I mean? Like, all these layers. And what happens is Vader goes off and, like, Palpatine tries to get this list in one of the comic arcs. I won't go on about Star Wars too much more, don't worry. One of the arcs is basically they're trying to find where all the Jedi children are, because the Jedi have got records of Force-sensitive children. And when they get to a certain age, they bring them to the Jedi if their parents want them to, and then raise them as Jedi. So the Jedi have all these records, and obviously if Palpatine got that, he'd then be able to have control of all these kids, right? Vader gets this thing, and the Jedi who he gets it off says to him, "You do realise that if Palpatine gets this, he's going to find the next big Jedi, and he's going to replace you." And so Vader destroys the thing. You know what I mean? He's always undercutting Palpatine all the time. And most people don't care, which is fine. But for me, it adds so much depth to the character, you know? And that's all it is just all these comic book series. You know, there's ones that have come out about Obi-Wan, there's ones that come out about Obi-Wan and Anakin after episode 1, but before episode 2. Like, all these little gaps there are. And a lot of the time it's plot holes as well, let's be honest here. There's a lot of, like, Rogue One. Rogue One is just a giant plot hole filler. Like, the whole film is literally just, how did they make a giant space station the size of a moon and have it get blown up by one little pipe? And it's a great plot hole filler. It's a really good movie, but it is literally just well, there's a guy on the inside, because it doesn't really make any sense. Like, there is nothing.
But surely someone could have just thought of that. Like, you know, what? Like, I mean, yeah, Rogue One, great, good movie. But like, you know, I can't really understand anyone wanting like a real big one. Like, I really need to know the exact thing. Like, why can't you just be like, oh, it's probably someone on the inside? Because like that's. Because
that's not what Star Wars is about.
Every story has been like told before, so you can probably just have you can make yourself a few assumptions for those sort of things. But yeah, again, I love Rogue One, so I'm happy it came out. But yeah, I can't like. But that is always, I feel that's kind of a problem with some things where, you know, again, some things won't be explained, and someone's like, "Well, I need to know." It's like, well, he probably like just goodness sake.
Well, that's the thing with Star Wars.
Come on,
there's a guy watching YouTube, and his whole thing, he loves Star Wars like I do, and he knows way more about it. But he always says like things like, you know, every background character in every Star Wars movie, including the cantina, you know, in the famous scene in A New Hope.
Oh,
or not? No, Dexter does.
Right.
Well.
I thought you were talking about
not the cafe in Attack of the Clones. No, the famous cantina scene in A New Hope.
Yeah.
You see about probably 30 aliens or so for like 1 second.
Yeah.
They've all got their own name and backstory. And in fact, in the book, A Certain Point of View, which is loads of short stories about each of the characters in A New Hope, it has several storylines about what people in that cantina were doing. You know the band that were playing, the weird big alien guys? Yeah. There's like 7 members of them. They have their own in-universe autobiography that I don't think you can read it, but there's like a whole Wikipedia page about all of the members of this of the band. There was this whole feud going on in the band between like do you know what I mean? Like the whole joke in Star Wars is everything in Star Wars, everything has got its own detail to it and names and everything. And it's so ridiculous and unnecessary, but that's kind of the funny part of Star Wars, where everything you can imagine, there's no, almost you think there's no gap.
It's good in a way.
That's what I like, is that
it's supplementary. Like, you can watch the movies and you can have your own entertainment, and like, you know, all that stuff's there. It doesn't matter if you want to, you can add yourself to, and it doesn't make a difference.
Exactly, it doesn't take away from it. But that's the problem. Well, that's what I like. You know, Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter as well. I love Lord of the Rings as well. But Harry Potter is the 8 films, which was the 7 books, plus you've got 4 or 5 side books, you know, that are kind of like in between.
Yeah, they're going to make all 5 of those
Fantastic Beasts films.
Yeah.
5 of them out of a World Book Day book that was like 90 pages long, you know. And it's like, and The Cursed Child, they're going to make that into a film, no doubt, because the stage play costs like £100 per ticket, and you have to go see part 1 and part 2 separately. So it's just like, ridiculous. But it's like all these, you know, Harry Potter, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. There's only films and books. That's it. But the books are just the films, but extended editions. Lord of the Rings, same thing. There's the films, the extended version of the films. They're making a series soon as well. But that's all there is. With Star Wars, there is such a huge amount of content. It's literally a joke. Like, so, and the thing is that everything adds to one big picture. Except, I mean, people are listening who know about canon and legends. Slight little side though. Before Disney took over, everything was like a big contradicting free-for-all. Like, there were certain books that contradicted other books, this sort of thing. Disney basically went cut-off point, and they said anything made before this point that isn't the movies is legends. Anything after it is canon. Canon is basically the true storyline. Legends is either it may have happened, but it may not have happened. We may release stuff in the future that contradicts this, but for now you can't say for certain. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that get mentioned in canon, like certain planets that get mentioned, and they align with what the Legends ones are. So people go, okay, those things that we know about them in Legends are true. But there's other things like at the end of Star Wars, Luke actually, Palpatine clones himself, and loads of him, and then turns Luke to the dark side, and then Luke's son turns him back and then kills Palpatine. Well, obviously that's a book. I know. That's in Legends, and it's ridiculous, and a lot of people criticise that storyline.
How is that like? Did people like that?
Well, that's
so someone's like, I'm gonna, like, imagine that, someone in their head's like, sounds really good. Yeah, that's crazy.
You think that's crazy? There's a force-sensitive droid, which doesn't make any sense. There's in Legends.
Does it not really, like, think, just come on, just...
Well, that's why Disney did it. That's why Disney that's why they did Legends. They said anything, because some of it is ridiculous. Like, some of the stuff in Legends is like silly, like ridiculous. Because they just after the films came out, they let almost anyone write any of their books. So you have some writers who are really good, brilliant writers, like Timothy Zahn.
Fan fiction, yeah.
Essentially. So Disney went, nope. And then Disney, now everything has to be approved by, there's like a whole department in Disney which is literally just to make sure that things released in canon, which is everything after the Force Awakens basically, anything released in canon can't contradict each other. And there's a guy called Pablo Hidalgo, that's his job, is to literally, he's the head of it, to make sure that when things come in, new stuff, they don't contradict each other, because Legends was such a clusterfuck of things that make any sense. But
Good
anyway,
for Pablo.
let's move this out of the way, because I've been talking about Star Wars now for far too long at you.
Yeah.
So, bam! You did filming at Bestival. How was that?
Yeah. Oh man.
There we go. Throw that in the deep end.
It was great. Yeah, I loved it. It was a very good experience.
And that's the end of the podcast. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. As I said in the intro, this is technically part 1 of the chat, but I'm going to be releasing them as separate episodes due to their subject matter not really being about each other at all. So, this week is about movies, next week's about music, and a bit about Dan's camera work, as you know by the way this episode ended. So yeah, look out for that one next week. As I said, last week I did a Science But Simple about black holes and scientific terminology, and the week before that I was chatting with my friend who's a podcaster and an author. So a lot of things to get your teeth into to keep you tidy while you're waiting for the next episode. There's not really much else to add at the moment. I said in the intro I'd talk about Avengers Endgame a little bit, without any spoilers, just to warn everyone there's not going to be any spoilers at all, so, rest easy. I thought Endgame was fantastic. I thought it was a brilliant end to the sort of Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the whole Thanos Infinity Stones story arc. I thought they handled it very well. I thought the film, even though it was 3 hours, didn't feel like it dragged at all. The action was great. The comedy was good. All the characters in it was fantastic. It was wholesome. It didn't feel like it was cheap. Everything about it seemed to be exceeded my expectations, I'd say, and more. I thought it was just going to be quite a predictable story of, reversing time and doing all this faff, but it's not the way you think it's going to be. So, really good movie. Really, really enjoyed it. I think anyone should go check it out if you enjoyed Infinity War. Yeah, that's about it, really. Anyway, guys, I think that's everything from me. So, as I usually say at the end, like, follow, subscribe, all that usual jazz. Rate on iTunes if you can. But the biggest thing is to share with people on social media. This podcast has a lot of different guests, a lot of different topics, a lot of different things going on in it. So, sharing it, it's really great because I don't think that anyone will enjoy every episode of the show. But I believe that it's going to be quite difficult to find someone who doesn't at least enjoy an episode. So if you're a regular listener and you hear an episode you think someone's going to like, send it their way. Or if you're only just tuning in, maybe this episode wasn't really exactly what you fancied, have a little look back through the back catalogue, see if there's anything that specifically does. I've had chats with a guy called Goff, who is a blind film director from Australia. So he's an incredibly interesting individual if you want to hear about movies. Or you can just look through everything else, and there's loads of other stuff. YouTube, even though barely anyone watches / listens on YouTube, I've set them into playlists on YouTube, so you can kind of see which ones are sciencey, which ones are funny, which ones are with other podcasters, that general idea. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling late on a Sunday night, so I'm going to go now. Thanks as always for listening, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you listening, and I'll talk to you all next week.